Once our fresh water gets salty, we may or may not be able to use it like we have in the past. At the Lake Erie Center, we study the impacts of all kinds of contaminants in the environment, including road de-icing salts. So we've tripled the rates of road salt applications since the 1970s. We started using road salt in about 1939, 1940, and since that time we apply about 25 million metric tons of just sodium chloride on our roadways. And so these de-icing salts, when they're applied to roads, they eventually wash into freshwater ecosystems, increasing the salinity. So it takes 1 teaspoon of salt to pollute 5 gallons of water. But think about how much salt it would take to do that to Lake Michigan or Lake Erie. And it's happening. So we've seen noticeable increases in the chloride concentration of many of the Great Lakes. And so that is due to more generally salt pollution from all kinds of human-induced sources. We think about Lake Erie. We draw water out of Lake Erie for our drinking water in this region. So when salts accumulate, when things like de-icing salts accumulate in these freshwater ecosystems, we are drawing from those lakes for our drinking water. And what we're finding is that a lot of freshwater organisms and drinking water supplies exhibit salt concentrations at levels that are not healthy for humans and are going to have a negative impact on freshwater organisms. Road salts, while we need them to keep us safe, they reduce accident rates by almost 78% or more, but we can use them much more efficiently. So when we think about solutions to the road salt pollution issue, one thing we can do is we can use what are called live edge plows. There are also a series of other best management practices. One of them is using a brining solution or pre-wetting the roads before a storm. That prevents ice from forming on top of the roads. The level of service, the public's expectation of how cleared the roads are, really has a huge influence on how much salt is put down. So if we can reduce our level of service as a public and slow down during snowstorms or consider travel alternatives, we can really reduce the amount of salt going into our freshwater ecosystems. Using what we need, where we need it, and when we need it is critically important to preventing road salts from contaminating freshwater ecosystems. When it comes to the road salt issue, really everyone has a role to play. Not only just the general public in terms of their expectations for clear roads, but policymakers need to craft proactive environmental policy and set thresholds that can be enforced when necessary to protect drinking water supplies or a lake ecosystem. It's really hard to get salts out of water. And in our region and many regions, once salt is in the water, it's just in there and it's not going to go away anytime soon. But as we think about decades from now, if we keep salting our freshwater ecosystem, so to speak, we may not get them back.